So he's standing at the edge of an artificial sky. Truman Burbank, he presses his hand against a painted horizon, and in that climactic moment of the Truman Show, the boundary between reality and illusion literally cracks. The film's premise, it's deceptively simple. It's a man unknowingly living inside a manufactured reality TV world. But it raises a lot of weighty questions. How do we discern truth in an age of spectacle? What's the tension between higher authority and individual freedom? Can a life be authentic if it's been commodified as entertainment? I'm going to draw on our course's insights into things like hyper-reality, divine authority and human freedom, theological allegory, to frame an analysis of this film. I also will echo some of the class discussions we've had on polyphony of perspectives and ambiguity of justice and knowing. Ultimately, I think I find that Truman's journey in the film represents a spiritual awakening. It's a rejection of spectacle, a courageous search for genuine truth. The Truman Show challenges me to seek truth, to seek freedom and moral agency, even in a world that's shaped, at least in part, by illusion and control. Sea Haven Island is Truman's hometown. It is the epitome of hyper-reality. It's a simulation so complete that it eclipses what's real. Baudrillard talks of this hyperreality as the generation by models of a real without origin or reality. Truman's world is just like that. It's a painstaking copy of an idyllic American suburbia that doesn't really exist. Every aspect of his life is scripted and it's staged, but to Truman it feels natural. It's all he knows. The broadcast of the show exemplifies how media blurs reality and entertainment. Neil Postman warned that television turns everything into entertainment. And here, Truman's very life is packaged as a primetime spectacle. The boundary between truth and showbiz vanishes as the audience consumes Truman's world as mere entertainment. The viewers are so absorbed in Truman's story that they neglect their own. The audience becomes complicit in Truman's captivity by treating it as normal entertainment. Now, high above Sea Haven sits Christoph, the creator-director of the show, watching Truman from his celestial control room. Christoph is a godlike figure. He names the world, he controls the weather, he orchestrates every event. Yet, he's a false deity. He's more of a manipulator than a benefactor. And that dynamic sets the stage for a conflict between divine authority, or its simulacrum, and human freedom. Philosophers like Simone de Beauvoir have argued that people must reject oppressive myths imposed by authorities so that they can become free. For Truman, the grand myth is Sea Haven. It's a world defined by someone else's narrative. And as Beauvoir might observe, Truman has been treated as an object in someone else's script, not a self-determining subject. He's got to reclaim this humanity. He must perform an act of existential rebellion. And so we think about Kierkegaard's leap of faith. He's got to risk everything for an unseen truth. He overcomes an instilled fear of water to sail to the edge of this world. And when he does so, he asserts the primacy of personal freedom over imposed order. Charles Taylor's critique of modernity's malaise is relevant here. Overly rationalized, controlled systems can stifle the human spirit. Christoph's dome is exactly such a system. It's perfectly planned as a society meant to eliminate pain and unpredictability. But as Taylor notes, an ostensibly ideal order can become like an iron cage. And Sea Haven's perfection is that cage for Truman. Christoph rationalizes his control as benevolence. He says that he's giving Truman a chance to lead a more normal life. And that's the mindset that illustrates how those who tyrannize for your own good will often blind themselves to the injustice that they're committing. His paternalism masks his deep violation of Truman's dignity and freedom. The climax brings a dramatic theological image. Christoph speaks to Truman from an artificial sky, disembodied like the voice of God. He urges Truman to stay, insisting there is no more truth out there in the real world than in the one he created for him. That moment crystallizes the film's central moral choice: remain in the false paradise under a false god, or dare to seek truth and freedom in reality, however uncertain and dangerous that might be. And Truman's reply is simple. He bows, he says his trademark good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and he steps through the exit door. In that act, he becomes truly free. He rejects the false heaven, the pretender God. He chooses an unknown world over a comfortable lie. And his courage invites us to consider what false authorities we may need to challenge today in our lives. We watched some films this semester, including A Separation and The Willow Tree, and they showed us things about the ambiguity of justice and knowing that truth is often elusive and many-sided. The film A Separation, in particular, refuses to take sides, as one of the students in our class indicated this semester, presenting each character's perspective as valid without handing a neat moral verdict. Bakhtin's concept of polyphony, multiple independent voices in a narrative, was helpful here. In A Separation, we experienced a polyphony of perspectives with no single voice of authority. The result was a morally complex, lifelike drama. The Truman Show, at first glance, seems more clear-cut. He's the innocent victim, Christoph the manipulator. But the film still invites a kind of polyphonic reflection by showing us various viewpoints. We catch glimpses of the TV audience reacting to his life: a security guard, a bar patron, an elderly couple. We see that they deeply care about the story. We sense the conflicted consciences of the actors who are around Truman. These details remind us that there are many voices in his world, even if he himself isn't aware of them. Morally, there's ambiguity. Christoph truly believes he's protecting Truman. The audience loves Truman in their way. The actors depend on the show for their livelihoods. The ethics of the situation are not black and white. During one of our discussions, a student in our class asked, "Is it ethical to keep someone in a lie if that lie keeps them happy?" In the context of The Truman Show, this question strikes at a core dilemma. Truman's constructed life was comfortable. No crime, no great trauma, a stable job and community. Would it have been ethical for Christoph to let him continue in this blissful ignorance? Typically, I think we would say no, because Truman wasn't living his own life. A life of autonomy and truth, even with hardship, we might think is superior to a pleasant life controlled by others. This movie affirms that justice lies in respecting individual freedom and honesty. The show ends without revealing Truman's future or Christoph's fate, leaving a few threads of ambiguity, but it strongly suggests that freeing Truman was the only moral choice. Truman's journey out of Sea Haven isn't just a physical escape, it's a spiritual and existential awakening. Through the film, we see hints of religious allegory. Sea Haven can be viewed as an Eden-like false paradise from which Truman must depart. When he breaks through the sky, it's as if he's enacting a modern exodus or a personal reformation. I couldn't help but see parallels to Martin Luther, standing up to an authority and declaring his conscience bound to the truth. Truman reaches a point where he can no longer accept the elaborate lie, echoing that Protestant spirit of insisting on truth, even if it means defying highest authority. One of my peers compared Truman's emergence to the prisoner leaving Plato's cave. That analogy is, of course, apt. Truman, like Plato's freed prisoner, he's got to reorient himself from illusion to reality. He chooses the blinding light of the real sun over the artificial daylights of Sea Haven. He nearly drowns during his escape, but survives and is in a sense reborn. He exits the world he's known in joy and disbelief, like someone who's finally seen the truth. In modern terms, Truman embodies the quest for authenticity, the drive to be true to oneself that Charles Taylor describes. Achieving this often requires breaking away from confining social scripts. Truman literally had a script written for him, down to his relationships and routines. His awakening is the ultimate assertion of authentic selfhood. He decides to write his own story. In baptism, Christians renounce the evil powers of this world that deceive us. Truman doesn't invoke God, but his leap into reality has, for me, a sacred quality. It honors truth, and it affirms the God-given dignity of human freedom to renounce evil that deceives us and plot our own path. As the credits roll on The Truman Show, we're left with the image of Truman stepping through a door in the dome into darkness. The film doesn't show us what he finds outside. The focus is on the act of leaving the illusion behind. And that act challenges us as viewers. The Truman Show urges us not to accept a world of unexamined narratives. And it challenges us to seek authenticity in our own lives and to pursue truth and freedom despite the comfort that illusion can provide. For me, it resonates with the call to live in truth before God rather than settle for comforting falsehoods. Truman's bravery inspires a kind of secular faith, a faith that reality, with all its imperfections, is better than the sweetest lie. The Truman Show is a celebration of the human spirit's drive for truth and freedom, a critique of our media-saturated society, and a hopeful testament that individuals can awaken and break through walls of deception. As Truman casts aside his chains, we are encouraged to step out of our caves, question the shadows around us, and walk through and toward the light of truth, whatever it might reveal. In doing so, we reclaim our humanity and the freedom and hope that come with it. So, in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.